Okay, we are at 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Ann Griesel. I'm the project manager for the CALS and LAS web team. And today we have Hannah Schultes with us, and she will be presenting on analytics and audience and architecture. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Hannah to introduce herself a little bit more and about her role on the team. Hannah.
Okay, hi everyone. Very excited to be here. I joined the team sometime in May, and so since then, over the summer, the team's been working hard to try to get our clients to edit with intention. And so, as we all know, successful websites are never a set it and forget it thing. They require continuous maintenance in order to achieve goals. And sometimes there are good and bad consequences to the changes that we're making, but often go unnoticed, either because we don't know where to look for the results or we forget about the changes that we made. So today I'm going to talk about how website strategy helps to make your website successful and how you can track whether or not your efforts are working with your analytics. I just want to mention that this is going to be kind of a brief overview of our webinar series that we're doing this fall. So Ann and I have probably 10 webinars lined up for you guys that'll break down things like your target audience and SEO a little more. But this one is just kind of an overview of how to approach changing your content to get results. Okay. So we're going to do this by strategizing objectives for our site, implementing our strategy with edits to the site, and then measuring to determine if course correction is needed. Sometimes we don't always get it right on the first try, so we're going to be monitoring our analytics to make sure we're seeing the conversions we're looking for. Okay, so we begin with strategy because good strategy lays the foundation for a successful website. Oftentimes, users can feel lost or confused by a site's content. And that's because the site's overall purpose is lacking, or because the site isn't structured based on the users that are actually using your site. Um, so the first thing we want to determine is who the users are on your site and what the purpose of the site should be. Okay, define your target audience. We can guess based on our monthly analytics, but the best way to do it is outreach. So create a survey, ask around your department, ask students, and determine who it is that's actually using the site and what they're using it for. Because you want your site built based on outcomes that the users want. And if you do this correctly, you should see an increase in unique visitors to your site. These are people in your target audience looking for what your site has to offer. An increase in returning users, people that your site left an impression on, and your brand reputation. That impression your site leaves is your brand. So once you have a good idea about who your site's audience will be, you can also be thinking about the purpose of the site. Why does your site need to exist? It might be to inform, it might be to educate, it might be to sell, less likely in this case, but it might be to entertain. If the answer is because I have to have a website, then your site exists to be discoverable. Okay, so once you've determined that, I'd like you all to fill in this sentence. Our content should blank and help audiences feel blank so that they blank. Okay, so for an example, our content should educate and help audiences feel inspired so that they join our department. And then I want you to think about this every time something comes into question on your site. And if it doesn't help answer this question, then it's maybe not necessary on your site. So once you have your purpose statement in mind, it's time to think about what physical actions users can take to help achieve the vision. What milestones can they cross? And so something like downloading a PDF is a milestone. Signing up for your monthly newsletter could be a milestone. Or it could be more visit summary focused, like how long they stay on your site or how many different pages they visit in their session. All of these things are measurable. And so we want to come up with SMART goals to track how your objectives are measuring. I know you guys have all heard of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. And I'll show you some specific examples of good SMART goals for our kinds of websites later on. So once you have your site's purpose in mind, it's time to start implementing changes. And overhauling your site's content can feel overwhelming. But as I said at the beginning, being a website owner is a process. So we can take it in chunks and focus on the content. After you've determined the purpose and the target audience, the next thing I want you to do is section out your content. You might have sections like academics, facilities, services. Make a spreadsheet and put pages into each of these sections. And then when you're editing, go section by section so that you don't get overwhelmed with the full site. Okay? Read through your content. We don't want to see anything that is no longer needed. We don't want to see anything that's out of date. And we don't want to see anything that doesn't give value to your users. Okay? This is important because these kinds of things affect the perception your users have on your brand. So if they see out of date content, it maybe doesn't look like you're the right fit for them. You don't keep up with things. So keep that in mind. Always keep your target audience's point of view in mind when you're editing your content. So once you've reviewed all of the content from the first chunk, you can strategically place your milestones. Maybe you want people to express interest in your department, so you create a newsletter sign up or an intake form, and you place it after the first paragraph on the About page. And measure. So these things are measurable. Are your SMART goals converting? Every month you should, or can be, getting a monthly analytics report to show you how the site's doing. This report is important because it tells you how your milestones are performing, and we don't want to set them and forget them. So after you make a change, in a month you should have a baseline for how your changes are performing. And if it's on target with your goal, that's great. But the next thing to be thinking about is what you can change if it's not. Maybe it takes too long for the users to fill out the form, so they lose interest and leave your site. Maybe the buttons are too low on your site and they aren't scrolling down that far. These are the little changes you can make and try to determine where your target audience is falling out of the process to converting. Okay, so where is your target audience losing interest? Now we're going to get into some of the specific SMART goal examples that I created and kind of show you where you can look in the analytics report to find the answers. So maybe you want to get over 1,000 PDF downloads from your website by the end of the semester. You can find the answer to this in your actions report. So the action report shows you how users are interacting with your site. You can see things like the number of page views in the month, the number of downloads in the month, the number of outlinks, which means they clicked a link to a different site or a different resource, or the number of internal searches. All of these are telling you what your user is looking for on the site, so it's important data. You might be trying to increase average visit duration to 1+ minute by the end of the semester. This kind of information can be found in your visits summary. It shows you your unique visits, your total number of visitors, the total number of actions, and of course the average visit duration. So in this case, 31 seconds. We have some work to do to get that above 1 minute. Finally, you could be trying to track something more lead-based, like receive 10 website requests from potential leads on the site in July and September. So for this type of goal, we're going to be looking in our goals overview report. And in this specific case, we set up a goal just for this one action, which is to click a link to an email and request a faculty site. And as you can see, we have 4 conversions for this month. So 4 people requested a website from our website. Okay, so we can set up specific goals like this for you too. Reach out to us, let us know what you're thinking, what your purpose is, and we can come up with these milestones for your specific site and set up these goals throughout the site. Okay, so in review, analytics indicate the decision-making and success of your website. And to begin, you want to identify your target audience, uh, fill in your purpose statement, determine your SMART goals, and chunk your content. So I went over that kind of fast. So if anyone has any questions, now is a great time. But like I said, in the next couple of webinars, we're going to be really diving into each of these sections. And you can see our next one in 2 weeks will be on who is my target audience and is my website reaching them. So we're going to start with the first step there. I think Anne just shared a link for that event as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Hannah. This was great. So if any of you have questions for Hannah in regards to trying to set goals for your websites, we are here to help answer them. And if you would like to schedule a meeting with us, we're happy to Zoom with you, WebEx with you, meet with you in person, whatever your preference is. And we can talk about these, talk about your site, because sometimes you might want, we may need to start by looking at your analytics. Hannah can help do that, see where you're at currently, and help you determine the goals of where maybe you'd want to go. And as Hannah said, in the future webinars, we're going to step into this a little bit deeper, and it'll actually be a lot more fun, I think, when you have goals that you can track to see if you're meeting those goals. How can we think about sites with more than one target audience? Yes, yes, you're correct, is the case, I think, with many of the department sites. So Hannah, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a common thing. You might have, like when I set up individual content reviews, we look into 3 possible personas. So you might have prospective students that are coming to your website. You might have current, undergrad and grad students, and then you might have researchers in the industry coming to your site. So it's kind of taking the process from each of their point of view. And so, especially like when you're looking at your home page, put yourself in the current student's point of view. Does the site flow from their perspective and lead you to that goal? You're going to have a different kind of end goal for each type of user, if that makes sense. And do you have anything to add?
Yes, I think that makes perfect sense, and that's something that we're going to dive into even further in the next webinar, which is going to focus more particularly on the on
Different
audience.
target audiences. Yeah.
Mhm. Especially because we want to have uh, how do I say this? We want to make sure that you reach and consider and think about the different audiences, and I think that it would be definitely beneficial to either merge focus statements, or maybe you have 2 depending on your audiences and how it's set up, and Hannah can help drive those people to the different spaces on your website that reach them. You may want researchers to come in and collaborate with you from other institutions, organizations, and universities. And so that may be a specific goal that you have for that specific audience. You may also be in a situation where you want to increase the number of students that participate in your PhD programs. And in a lot of cases, I've seen where departments require that you connect with a faculty member in order to participate in the program. And it might be confusing to someone who's new to Iowa State or new to how programs work in general. And so making sure to have that about content and information on your site is also important and can help you reach that target goal of getting more people to participate in your department. Um, yeah. Okay. So are there any other questions? Those are great questions. I will mention a couple things before we close. First, remember that you can get these analytics reports emailed and sent to your inbox monthly. If you are not receiving these analytics reports and would like to receive them for your website or websites that you maintain and manage, please email us. I'll send this to web support, send it to web support. I'll put it in the chat, and that way we'll be able to get you those reports. All right. With that, I think we will go ahead and close out. Thank you so much for joining today. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. August 5th will be the next webinar. Bye, everybody. And thanks again, Hannah.